Board Member Elizabeth Callahan.
Here.
Board Member Nubia Duvall-Wilson.
Here.
Board Member Regina Ecker.
Here.
Board Member Bill Gifford. Board Member Will Meyer.
Here.
Board Member Shana Sackett-Gable.
Here.
Board President Kawhi Telsford.
Here.
Board Member Arun Vadlamani.
Here.
Board Member Caitlin Whitletter.
Here.
Student representatives aren't here, right? No. Student representatives, okay, not yet. And that's, I'm good.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner. That written notice was sent from the Office of the Secretary of the Board at 2:30 p.m. on January 5th, 2024. That said notice was sent via email to Maplewood and South Orange Township Clerks, the editors of the News Record, Star Ledger, Tablet Tasoma, and the Village Green. Whereas while the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, requires all meetings at the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education to be held in public. NJSA 10:4-12 sets forth 9 types of matters that may lawfully be discussed in executive session without the public being permitted to attend. And whereas the board has determined that one issue is permitted by NJSA 10:4-12 to be discussed without the public in attendance and shall be discussed during an executive session to be held on Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. And whereas the 9 exceptions to the Open Public Meeting Act set forth in NJSA 10:2-4 are listed below, and next to each exception is a box which will be marked when the issues to be privately discussed fall within that exception. And after each exception is a space where additional information that will be disclosed as much information and discussion as possible without undermining the purpose of the exception shall be written. Any matter by which express provisions of federal law, state statute, or rule of court shall be rendered confidential or excluded from public discussion. The nature of the matter described as specifically as possible without undermining the need for confidentiality is attorney-client privilege and personnel matters. With that, now therefore be resolved that the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education will go into executive session for the above stated reasons only, and be it further resolved that the board hereby declares that its discussion of the aforementioned subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or government interest being protected from disclosure. With that, I'd like to make a motion to go to closed session. Do I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Callahan. All in favor? Aye. All right, we're going into closed session. The school board meeting. All right. The school board meeting is a business meeting in public and not a meeting with the public. Oftentimes, it may appear to members of our audience that the Board of Education takes action with very little comment, and in many cases, a unanimous vote. Before a matter is placed on the agenda at a public meeting, the administration has thoroughly reviewed the matter with the superintendent of schools. If the superintendent of schools is satisfied with the matter is ready to be presented to the Board of Education, it is then referred to the appropriate board committee. The members of the board committee work with administration and the superintendent to assure that the members fully understand the matter. After the committee discusses the matter, it is then shared with the other board members for consideration. Only then is it placed on the agenda for board discussion and action at a public meeting. And we're going to now have a statement by the superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Tellisford. To Dr. Tellisford, members of the Board of Education, to many of you who've gathered here today. When we had our meeting around the budget, I made a comment to you that this has been the toughest time of my career as an educational leader. And that toughness continues tonight. It pains me to be sitting in this particular seat during this particular time for our district when we had to cut 28 positions. But I want to let you know that I'm acknowledging all of the many emails and all of you here tonight, and I hear your concerns, and that we are putting together the plan on what this looks like going forward. My commitment to you is that I will come before you to reveal to you all what our process and plans going forward to create the kind of the school district of South Orange and Maplewood that you have demanded and that you deserve. It pains me to understand that I had to lead this district in a time when we had to make such tough decisions to reduce our deficit. And just please know that I will not leave you in the dark. You will know what the plan is going forward, and we will come before you. The last thing I want to say is when I first took on the role as acting superintendent, I wrote a letter to you. I acknowledged the events that led to my becoming the acting superintendent. And in that letter to you, I said that as a community, we can be the best that we can be. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We can honor and value one another and listen to one another. I want to acknowledge that tensions and passions are high tonight, but I ask that as we listen, as we go and we talk about the things tonight, we will remember that we are still one community. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, next we'll have our hearing of individuals and delegations. Thank you for coming in person and dialing in by phone this evening. The South Orange Maplewood Board of Education certainly respects that you've taken the time out of your busy day to address the board at tonight's meeting. We value public involvement in our school district, and we are eager to hear what you have to say. The board does have time limits by policy, and it will be enforcing those to enable as many people to speak as possible this evening. Each individual will be given 2 minutes to speak. Please do your best to stay within that time, within the time afforded to you. The first public comment period is usually limited to 1 hour, and a second public comment period may be limited to 30 minutes. All input shared with the Board of Education is taken very seriously and will inform future deliberations and work by the Board of Education and its committees. So we'll start with Ren Crawford.
Hello? Thank you. Okay. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. When should I start? Should I just start speaking? Thank you. Esteemed administration, my name is Ren Crawford. I'm a freshman at Columbia High School, and I'm here in opposition of an action that threatens the future of STEM, the elimination of the course Creative Computing and Design. The Board of Education has taken a pledge to, quote, support a diverse range of learners, as is established in the 2023 through 2024 school year's district goals. This begins as early as elementary school, 3rd grade in fact, and presumably extends throughout our students' educational careers. If this goal is to be achieved in all areas of education, deletion of our only middle school STEM elective, and a beloved one at that, directly violates our collective intentions. Compulsory education is often a child's first and/or most long-term exposure to passions and potential career paths which they do not encounter daily, such as technology and engineering, which are emphasized in creative computing and design. I am a member of multiple demographics that have historically been excluded from these fields, and I am also a student who wishes to pursue a career in one of them. When I took creative comp, it only encouraged my love of science, but made me feel that my goals were feasible and taught me skills and information that I believe I would not have learned otherwise. This class has been critical to my development and general education on topics that I'm sure I'll utilize, and that no student should be deprived of the opportunity to learn. Not only does this threaten the futures of our students, but it compromises our values because we claim to be in favor of supporting students across all economic backgrounds. The resources for an organized STEM education are not available to so many students, so we cannot sacrifice the course Creative Computing and Design in the name of funding endeavors that will not benefit our collective growth nearly as directly. We must stand against this hypocrisy. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Alice Cohen. Alice Cohen.
Is this on? Hi. Good evening. My name is Alice Cohen, and I'm a rising junior at CHS. But before I was in high school, I attended Maplewood Middle School from 2019 to 2022. While my years at MMS were far from perfect, I often found solace in the electives I took, specifically Creative Computing and Design, which I took in 8th grade. This class was essential for my development as the young, STEM-oriented person you see before you. Through creative computing, I developed a renewed love for STEM and found an outlet for my endless questions. School is where children go to find their interests, their passions, their plans for the future, and their reasons for living. When you move to cut classes such as creative comp from the curriculum, you are depriving younger students of the experience that provided invaluable to me time and time again. No child should be robbed of the opportunity to indulge in the most basic childhood pleasure, being curious. And so I beg you, think of the next generation of children in our district. Do not take this chance away from them. Do not cut creative computing. Thank you to the board for your time and to everybody in this room for coming out to support our cause.
Next, we have Sonia Zanobi. Sonia Zanobi.
Hi, my name is Sonia Zanobi, and I'm a sophomore at Columbia High School and a student in the ESS program. I'm here today to explain to you why you need to renew ESS's contract immediately. I will start by sharing my story. I only started ESS halfway through this year, but out of my 7 years of on and off therapy, I have never made so much progress as I have while being part of this remarkable program. I struggle with severe anxiety, and in the beginning of this year, I was so paralyzed with fear that I could not attend any of my classes. But now, thanks to the unconditional support ESS has given me, I am able to attend almost every class with ease. I've spoken with a few other students in ESS, and here's what they have to say. First student, as a trans neurodivergent student, ESS provides a safe haven at school. The supportive environment, including kind peers and clinicians, offers invaluable opportunities to express my feelings during the day. Through ESS, I've enhanced my empathy and support for others, making the school environment feel safer and more manageable. Second student, ESS has helped me greatly throughout the time that I've been in it. It is all thanks to the clinicians who provided you a safe space to talk when you're not feeling so great. Third student, as an incoming freshman, I was struggling so severely I didn't know if I would make it through the year. But once I joined ESS, my life changed for the better. If it weren't for ESS, I would not be in this district. These students are going through unimaginable hardships. Are you really going to take away their support system? This district prides itself in caring about the students and their well-being. This is your chance to prove it. We understand the budget cuts, but getting rid of ESS would be a detrimental mistake that we cannot afford to make. On behalf of the students in ESS, we urge you, we need you to renew the contract immediately. Thank you.
Z Luciano. Z Luciano.
Is this? Oh yeah, it is. Cool. My name is Luciano. I'm a sophomore in ESS, and this is my second and last year in the program. When I first started at Columbia, I didn't know what to do, and I struggled immensely with advocating for myself and my needs. Despite how difficult I often was, the clinicians at ESS never gave up on me and always helped me whenever they could. With their aid, I have been able to achieve so many things that I never thought possible for myself, and I've gotten to the point where I'm confident enough in myself to feel that I no longer require the program's aid. I know firsthand how important ESS can be, and I know that without it, I would not be in the position that I am in right now. I believe that every student deserves to receive adequate support, and ESS has been a vital part of that for me and many others. I'm aware that many of my peers do not know of ESS's existence, and that's fine. However, I do know that for me and the other members of ESS, it is incredibly important to all of us, and if it were to be cut out of CHS, several students would experience immense hardships as a result of one of their primary systems of support being removed. Can I just stop now? That's all I have. Thank you.
Gabriel Taro.
My name is Gabriel Taro. I'm a sophomore at CHS and a member of the choir and orchestra programs. The arts have been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. I've taken piano lessons since the age of 4, sung in various choirs since I was 8, attended several music summer camps, and played in a youth orchestra for 2.5 years. But nowhere have I encountered a program quite like ours. The aim of education is to lift people up. In the words of Horace Mann, education, beyond all other devices of human origin, is a great equalizer of the conditions of men. Nothing in our district embodies this ideal quite like the arts. Students of all different racial, cultural, and socioeconomic backgrounds have the ability to participate, and at its core, this is an issue of access and equity. These cuts threaten our ability to provide quality instruments to those who can't afford them, which will disproportionately affect minority communities. This is an affront to the ideals that this board has repeatedly espoused. Now the arts are under attack. We are faced with leadership that would rather trim the budget than keep essential programs running. The admin already has the first component ready to go, the end of 5th grade strings. The middle schools will be next to go, grade by grade, until all that's left is Mr. Van Beveren, who couldn't be here today because in an effort to feed the program, he's been teaching elementary and middle school students after school on his own private time. Because you guys have decided to cut the budget back over and over again. And once he's gone, who will protect the arts? It's down to you. You, the Board of Education, must step up. I ask all of you, if you value your community, keep the arts alive. Thank you.
Next we have Yuv Khanna.
Good evening, I'm Yuv Khanna and I'm an 8th grader and the student body vice president of Maplewood Middle School. Tonight I'm speaking about the necessity of keeping the STEM program at MMS. It's the only STEM class offered at MMS. I'm a current student in that class and can unequivocally say that the core values and the topics covered are not taught anywhere else throughout the curriculum. Among the many projects completed, we are given the opportunity to design and construct buildings and bridges with our classmates. This project had multiple benefits, some of which included critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and compromise. We also spent several months talking about the Sustainable Development Goals and constructing prototypes to invent designs that fix problems such as world hunger. No other classes, including our science class, offer this kind of exposure or knowledge, nor motivation to actually critically think to this extent and fix world problems. The way the program is taught allows students to feel that we have a responsibility and power in fixing our world and making it a better place. This is a class where I always am encouraged and constantly supported in my ideas. I have learned and had so much fun in creative comp. I would argue that given how quickly the world is changing, the STEM program is the most important and beneficial class to our future and well-being, and for our well-being. By taking this away, you would actually be putting our lives at jeopardy. Thank you.
Next, we have Violet Kessler.
Good evening. My name is Violet Kessler, and I am in 8th grade, and I'm the president of the MMS Student Council. I've come to express my concerns about the removal of the STEM programs at the middle schools. Personally, I have had the pleasure of taking one of Ms. Savaki's STEM courses. Although the title is about computers, the course covers so much more than that. The course is generally about teaching kids how to creatively attack challenges regarding sustainability and global problems. Not only can students learn how to attempt to change the world, but they can learn to do it collaboratively. Teamwork is such an important lesson in life, and students frequently work together and share ideas in this course. Along with the many benefits, many students don't learn about careers in STEM until high school or college. It allows students to explore new options and to be validated by strengths that they didn't know they had. Many students are overjoyed to enroll in this class at MMS, and it encourages them to continue in careers similar to those from in class. Overall, this course teaches students to be stronger, more educated, more adaptable, and better prepared for the world. I hope you take this into consideration when thinking of the removal. Thank you.
Next, we have Kira Eggert.
Good evening. I'm an 8th grader and I'm the secretary of the Maplewood Middle School Student Council. I know personally for many, creative computer design is more than just a class to pass. It is a place where students have the opportunity and chance to express themselves in projects that could never be brought up in other classes. Not only does the course include computer design and sustainability, but it also covers various topics such as architecture and many other skills that are relevant for a large percentage of modern-day occupations. Computer science classes serve as a crossroad for so many different subjects such as science, math, and even art. But especially they allow students to participate in class activities that help them learn essential skills such as critical thinking. STEM also introduces teamwork to students everywhere. It helps them develop the ability to rely on and work well with teammates, as well as an independent skill. High school is a place where students are supposed to decide where they want to go to college, and furthermore, who they want to be and how they want to spend their life. If students experience no exposure to the topic of computer science and STEM, they probably will not consider it for a future career. As the world progresses through the years, it is generally given that STEM jobs will become more imperative and vital for our society, and that the basics of STEM taught in middle school classes will one day be an everyday necessity. Thank you.
Next, we have Ella Levy.
Hi, my name is Ella Levy, and I am a CHS sophomore. I am in the CHS Stage Crew, Percussion Ensemble, General Band Program, Marching Band, Jazz Band, and I am the timpanist for the Ravenna Youth Orchestra. On Tuesday night, I found out that Mr. Pasquale, a member of the band staff at the middle schools and involved in marching band, was not being rehired for next school year. This was incredibly upsetting because Mr. Pasquale has been a huge help in recruitment from the middle schools. I am one of just 2 female identifying percussionists in the entire CHS band program this year, and the only one in my marching band for the last 2 years. I want that to change, and I worry that without adequate music education, starting in elementary school, and actual lessons provided in school, it won't. Now, last night, for whatever reason, Mr. Pasquale was put on the updated reappointment list. So, although I am, of course, happy he's back next year, my question remains of why it happened in the first place. Why are we getting rid of good things? Interim Principal Pedro continuously uses the phrase "a school of excellence" as a goal for us in emails. Well, board members, let me be honest. You know what is already excellent in our school? Our award-winning band program, orchestra program, and choir program. This district has become very good at creating Band-Aids rather than long-term solutions. And if you cut the budget, you don't rehire music education staff, then you're ultimately failing the students. Because the students are the ones in the building every day. We are the ones who gain or lose from your choices. You're the Board of Education. Please just let us be educated. Maybe the brand new turf field can teach me how to play the xylophone. Thank you.
Next, we have Felix Reichman-Kernau. Felix Reichman-Kernau.
Hello, my name is Felix Reichman-Kernau, and I'm a sophomore at CHS. I, along with my friend Madeline Zaretsko, organized the group of orchestra and band students that played right before this meeting. And I am now here to speak as a representative of the orchestra and band programs. The decisions made to cut music teachers in this district is unacceptable. A major factor of my family's move to Maplewood 5 years ago, was the caliber of the school's music programs. Orchestra and band programs existed from 4th and 5th grade, something that was not available in the elementary school I had gone to. The musicals put on in Columbia were unparalleled. The orchestra and band consistently send music majors to prestigious conservatories every year, and students have won awards such as the Governor's Award for Music a few years ago, and even Grammys. My family assumed that a program of this magnitude with this much success would be supported by its schools and district. But as I've joined these programs and become part of them, I've realized our success is not due to the support of the district, but in spite of it. We have been consistently underfunded and undervalued by our district for decades. Positions are constantly cut, music programs pushed later and later in elementary school, and funding is constantly restricted. The orchestra program, for example, is less funded in proportion to its size now than 25 years ago when we had but the smallest fraction of the numbers we do now. The largest cuts have occurred over the last 3 years, which have been over almost 75% of our funding. Why is these funds cut? Is it because of, you say it is because of debt? But why should the music programs, one of the most successful and popular programs of the school, be the first to suffer? Everyone in this district benefits from our programs. Without a marching band, there's no one to play at football games. Without a choir, who will perform at community events such as the annual Martin Luther King Day event held in our auditorium? Without an orchestra, who will play Pomp and Circumstance at the middle school graduations? And how will a student violist, Job Campbell, play at your board meeting, as he did a few months ago? The music program is also imperative because compared to other districts, our districts, most students learn 80% of their education at the school. They cannot afford private lessons, and without a large enough orchestra program and consistent staffing in the middle schools, students cannot be taught without having private lessons. So for a district that values equity over everything else, it is appalling that we are removing positions and essentially requiring students that want to be involved in the orchestra programs and band programs to take private lessons. I strongly urge the board and administrators across the district to please reconsider the decisions in staff and budget cuts to the music and arts program, as these programs are the lifeblood of our district.
Thank you, Felix. Next, we have Emma Phillips.
Hello, my name is Emma Phillips, and I am a sophomore at Columbia High School. I'm a part of the CHS choir program, the a cappella group, the Unaccompanied Minors. I performed at both of the school's annual Beat Fests, and am involved in the musical. Singing and music are my entire life, as I know many various forms of art are for a lot of people in this district. I lived in Union for the first 10 years of my life and looked forward to moving to Maplewood because of the renowned arts department and the value placed on the arts. I am appalled that a district that has prided itself on its arts department for so many years, a district that claims to value the arts, is going so strongly against their own word. Students have been advocating for various parts of the art department for years. We have still seen zero development regarding the CHS auditorium stage, and the musical, special dance company, and the Shakespeare Festival have all had to adjust to your lack of regard for the arts and what they need. I'm appalled that a district that is spending money on things that nobody asked for, is willing to make cuts to the arts department. It has become evident that you do not care about the needs and the wants of the student body. And if you want to prove me wrong in saying that, you will listen to the people who are pleading with you to leave the arts intact in this district. I have struggled greatly in the Maplewood South Orange School District to feel loved and welcomed by my peers and the people who surround me. The arts is the only thing that has brought me comfort in the past couple years. Do not take away what is a safe space for so many students in this district. I am here to say that those of us who love the arts will not forgive you if you let it die. We will remember. If you are the smart group of adults you claim to be, you will find a way. Thank you for your time.
Next we have Emmett Simon. Emmett Simon.
Hello, my name is Emmett Simon. I'm a sophomore at Columbia High School and a member of the marching band, jazz ensemble, and percussion ensemble. One of my favorite aspects of being in the Columbia High School marching band is the ability to attend competitions and see the accomplishments of young musicians in high schools across the state. With many schools, I can, at a glance, see that their school districts care about the arts and display this through such actions as providing their arts programs with adequate funding. For a school district that is known for nurturing incredible young artists, musicians, and performers, one would think that this school district would do the same, working hard to set a high standard for their arts programs. Instead, what I see at this school district is a constantly increasing reliance on external fundraising, a minuscule amount of staff trying their best to manage many responsibilities while their jobs are put on the line, and numerous performing ensembles without a stage to perform on. The seeming imminence of further budget cuts within the arts programs is saddening, both as a student and as a musician. With the chaotic climate of our school district as of late, I would once again like to remind the Board of Education, you have responsibility to preserve our school district, and there can be no preservation of our education without preservation of the arts. Thank you.
Alexander Wood. Alexander Wood.
Hello, my name's Alexander Wood. I live in South Orange. I'm an 8th grader at Psalms, and I'm a percussionist in the Psalms concert band, jazz band, and honors band. I was lucky enough to become part of the CHS marching band front ensemble a year early in 8th grade. I'm speaking tonight about the importance of the arts, particularly music in my case, in our district. Yesterday, I found out that Mr. Pasquale, one of the most vital members of the middle school bands in the marching band, wasn't getting rehired. I've been informed, though, that this is no longer true, which is wonderful. But it made me start thinking about the impact that music has had on my life and a lot of the lives of people around me. Mr. Pasquale was originally hired coming out of the pandemic, but the need for music and skillful teachers has not gone away with the end of the pandemic. The need for music and other types of arts is as important, if not more important than ever. With music being such a big part of my life and a lot of my friends' lives, I've started to think of the impact of music as a whole. From the little piccolo to the giant contrabass clarinet, the history and cultures that I'm able to learn because of music. But all of this is important, but for something that I keep bringing up is the people around me. The community that music has created for me. This includes even tighter-knit community of marching band. And these communities provide support systems to everyone, not just through academics, but through help with homework, practicing for auditions, and playing games and talking sometimes after school. Many of the ways music brings people together just as much as people play music. The defunding of the arts programs is not just harmful to the students that we are now, but it's harmful to the adults that we will become. Thank you.
I'm looking at Carol Agla or Noel.
This on? Testing? All right. Good evening. I am Carol Aguila, a sophomore at Columbia and advocate for the STEM program at MMS. Here I am today, and I ask you this question. What's the most important thing about our schools? Is it grades, our GPA, the things we learn, or is it soul searching? And to me, as a student, school is all of the above, but especially in middle school, it's about self-discovery. For students, it's not intentional. It just stems from I enjoy this. I don't like that. That was fun. However, this essential self-exploration faces a dilemma in this district today. Today, we meet to eliminate the only one in STEM class offered at Maplewood Middle. While yes, elements of STEM like science and math are already covered, learning how these elements intertwine and having a chance to taste engineering is important. I took creative composition 2 years ago, and it's an irreplaceable class. It helped boost my creativity and made me engage in real-world problems. And the way the class made me think is unique. This class is also pretty popular. Ms. Zavaki, the teacher who teaches it, has 5 classes on an A and B day, and approximates that around 50% of 7th and 8th grade students take it. How could we get rid of such a popular class? A class that allows students to start early, a class that makes students truly critically think. Let these students discover, let their passions in STEM flourish, and finally, let school be school. Thank you, and I rest my time.
Eve Johnson. Eve Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Eve, and I'm a sophomore and rising junior at CHS. I will simply begin by stating that what you, the Board of Education, want to do to our arts program is incredibly wrong. I am a student who participates in the school musical every year and enjoys the choir program each day, as well as the a cappella club Noteworthy. I was 8 years old when I moved here from a small town in Illinois, and I grew up in a family full of music and art. We decided to move to this town because of its incredible music and art culture. I'd been looking forward to being in the High School Musical ever since I learned how much it was loved. Being in the cast of Something Rotten last year was one of the most exciting experiences of my life so far, and I know that I wanted to continue spending my time with the community of talent and kindness for the rest of my years in high school. I plan to pursue a life within the community that so many people are proud to be in. I was also grateful to be able to perform in Mamma Mia this year. I enjoyed it so much, but it was not the experience it should have been. The stage broke mid-rehearsals, and did anyone try to help us find solutions? No. Our incredible directors and producers spent hours of their life putting together ways to continue rehearsals and put on the show. We have suggested many ideas and solutions to the problem, yet you, the board, refuse to take a look or even any sort of action to resolve our issues. The CHS stage has been a full-on hazard for years and has needed fixing and safety checks, yet only once it becomes unusable in any sort of way do you glance at it. Unbelievable. When it was announced that a student lounge would be built in place of the old pool, I was surprised. Now, why couldn't we fix the constant leaking from the ceilings? Why don't we have menstrual products actually filled in the bathrooms? Why haven't we put the funds into groups that need funding to continue existing? Think. Hearing the constant construction noises from my class is incredibly frustrating and distracting. Knowing that our school is not only focusing on the priorities, but only on things to make us look better. I have several friends that are a part of the marching band, orchestra programs, and choruses here. All these people are constantly discussing how much they love their program and how much of a community it is. So many of us at CHS need the arts. Cutting budgets means cutting programs, means cutting opportunities, and cutting out incredibly important parts of people's lives. How unbelievable, how much I'm embarrassed and incredibly disappointed in my own board. Do better. Thank you.
We have Alexa Easington. Alexa Easington. Alexa Easington.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexa Easington, and I am an 8th grader at MMS. I would like to voice my opinion on behalf of MMS students about keeping STEM active. Ms. Savaki is one of the most humble and caring teachers I've ever met. She encourages students to work hard, she invokes curiosity, and is a positive role model for all of us. Ever since I was in elementary school, Practicing STEM has been an interest of mine. So, when I enrolled into Maplewood Middle School, I was so delighted to hear that there was a class dedicated to learning the various subjects in the STEM field. Now, I'm sure this is the case for many children in Tuscan or even Delia Bolden Elementary. In Ms. Savaki's class, we are able to dive into science with a deeper perspective. We are exposed to topics like sustainability, engineering, and technology. By exploring these topics, we are reminded we have the agency to begin our STEM careers now. It is my hope that future students at Maplewood Middle School would have the opportunity to discover STEM with Ms. Savaki. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have William L. Clifford. William L. Clifford.
Good evening. I am a freshman at Columbia. Orchestra has been a large part of my life for many years. I never thought I would have to worry about it being mercilessly stripped away from me until now. My orchestra introduction started in late 4th grade to early 5th grade. I was one of the lucky individuals that got to experience the escape of playing an instrument. It helped me in ways that nothing else could. 5th grade was the year that the district shut down, and I had to go into middle school blind, helpless, and without guidance. I began my 6th grade year online. That's where I met Miss Chilomintris, the orchestra director for MMS. I was able to keep playing my instrument even when I had no one to play with. That class kept me going. Not only did Miss Chilomintris work tirelessly to create and find music worksheets that fit all of our skill levels, she would also sit outside at the front steps of the school in the winter cold to tune our instruments. 7th grade began my first year in person, after COVID. Everything was new, I hated it. But yet again, there was Miss Chilomintris, whose classroom was a safe space of sorts from the outside world. I majorly increased my playing skills and even took interest into learning a new instrument to further my musical education prowess. I went on to perform the spring concert that year, my first ever concert and possibly my favorite. Then came 8th grade, my final year at MMS, and quite possibly one of my hardest yet. I felt like I never fit in, and it took a toll on my mental health. And as always, the orchestra room was always there. I would come during lunch almost every day because I had nowhere to sit in the cafeteria. That was my safe space, and later I was encouraged by Miss Chilomintris to join Varsity Orchestra, the program for middle schoolers at Columbia. That's where I was first introduced to Mr. Van Beveren, who is undoubtedly one of the funniest, kindest, and overall one of the best people I have ever met. His stories were always entertaining. And from that moment, I knew that I would still have that same safe space at CHS. Then comes freshman year. It's a whole new school. I joined string orchestra and was extremely excited about starting. The year started off fairly normal, and then abhorrent and unimaginable events ensued. At the level we were at originally, we couldn't afford new lesson books to teach new students. As we stand now, we run the risk of not being able to even teach new students. I want to conclude with a simple question. If budget cuts and layoffs continue to further put our orchestra and arts programs in debt, what will Columbia become? How will hundreds of kids have the opportunity that I had, a safe space not only to learn how to play an instrument, but to make friends? The answer is clear, they won't, and it upsets me greatly to see what this already wrecked climate of a district has become. I cannot fathom the disparity that would affect the district and the arts program, or if art.
Thank you, William.
If the district...
Next, we have Beckett Mehta. Beckett Mehta.
Hi, I'm Beckett Mehta, and I'm an 8th grader at MMS. I'm also part of the student council as the treasurer of the executive board. I've been lucky enough to have creative computing and design with Ms. Savaki for 2 years in a row. So I speak from personal experience when I say that it was a lovely class where I learned quite a bit. And cutting our STEM programs in the middle schools is absurd. Many students' first exposures to these experiences and things like STEM careers. Not only do we learn about the whole world, like this year we were learning about earthquakes, but we learn so much about the careers present in today's world, like 3D design, engineering, sound design, etc. The amount of STEM jobs in the world has increased, and as time goes on, and when the kids currently in middle school become adults, it's likely that the number of STEM jobs will be even higher. We need a program that can expose us to these careers so we develop the interests and early knowledge and skills that may lead us to these careers. STEM needs creative, innovative people, and classes like the ones that we have right now to bring out our innovativeness. Cutting our creative computing class in the middle schools takes away this chance for kids to find out that they may be the next people who make earthquake-proof buildings, lead development in AI, make CAD designs that wow the world, lower our carbon footprint, make water across the world clean and accessible, and who knows what else. All this potential that could be unlocked, and yet you take the key. We can't predict the future, and if we don't cut the STEM program, who knows what will happen. But I know it'll be something good, something great. Thank you.
Next is Ayla Novemsky.
Hi, I'm Ayla Novemsky. I'm a senior, and I've been participating in music classes and programs in this district for 13 years. I'm in choir and music tech, I'm a leader of a cappella, and I'm in music studio and music industry clubs. I'm also the student manager of our annual student concert, B-Fest. Nothing and no one else has had the impact on my life that our arts program has, despite its lack of sufficient resources and funding. I'm committed to Smith College, and I plan on majoring in music and business. My dream is to work as a manager and creator in the music industry. This dream was cemented by one of the teachers at our high school, and her ability to teach and provide opportunities and resources for students. This is purely because of how much she cares for students and how much she is willing to put into our lives, while our new administration has actively pushed these opportunities back. Like many other arts teachers, she has spent money out of pocket and worked extra unpaid hours. I've been able to pursue my passion of music because I'm privileged, and I've been able to afford private voice, guitar, and piano lessons. A large percentage of our students can't afford this. They rely solely on their school to provide opportunities for them to learn. Our arts department is struggling enough with the limited budget it already has and can barely provide these opportunities for students. Many other students haven't had access to the arts programs at all and haven't been able to realize their artistic passions because of how small a space the program has taken up. Your job is to ensure the well-being of these students. Please focus on equity. Thank you.
Next is Izzy Sandoval. Izzy Sandoval.
Hello, my name is Izzy. I'm a rising junior at Columbia High School, and I'm here once again. Your priorities have been very clear to us. Our principal's priorities have been very clear to us, putting unnecessary aesthetic projects of the school, which apparently include painting over student murals, God forbid, artistic expression at Columbia High School, over not only the opinions, but the needs of our students, which, as you all have seen, have been very clearly expressed. Your pity means absolutely nothing to me, because if your words do not match your actions, then there is nothing really happening. To you, this may be a tiny moral inconvenience, but for us, it decides some very important life decisions and our futures. Quoted from the Board of Education meeting 2 weeks ago, and I quote, "Just because 20 people showed up to complain about the budget doesn't mean we're going to do anything about it," end quote. You are supposed to represent our community, as Acting Superintendent Gilbert said. We are all a community. And I was sitting in my kitchen at 12 at night. My jaw was on the floor. Are you kidding me? I am so proud of some of my friends, like Felix and Madeline, who have community organized this, because they have showed that joy is a form of resistance, and we find our joy in performing and creating. And by your belittling decisions, you're taking that away from us. And I see your uncomfortable faces, and you should be uncomfortable, because this is embarrassing.
Next we have Samantha Booker. Samantha Booker?
Banker?
Or banker, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Samantha, and I have a daughter in kindergarten and a son in second grade at Marshall School. I moved to South Orange 12 years ago, the same amount of time I've been an elementary school art teacher. The best job in the world. Just this week, my third graders cheered, literally cheered, as we began our clay unit making dragon eyes, since it was a much-needed reprieve from testing this week. I'm here today because I want to protect those incredible moments with art and would like to challenge the 35% budget cut to that art program. Either elementary schools have simply been left off the budget list by mistake, or they are all receiving $0 in funds for next year. $0. Even when I worked at an inner city school, there was a budget. From my extensive experience, when budgets are cut, the money never returns. We moved to this town as both my husband and I are in creative fields, and we knew this town was home to many Broadway stars, architects, copywriters, visual artists, and more. Last year, I paid over $27,000 in taxes, and my own children will not have access to the basic supplies in their art room next year. As a teacher myself in a neighboring town of Millburn, it breaks my heart that I go into work every day and can provide for my students, but not my own children. How did we get here? Our business admin. We cannot grant tenure to Eric Burnside tonight. Clearly, he has failed at his job if we cannot provide 5 to 9-year-olds paint and paper to express their creativity. As we all probably remember, not too long ago during COVID, it was the arts that were a safe haven to combat the mental illness and the isolation brought on during those tough times. I will leave you with this. Art education is proven to teach children to be more empathetic and encourage multi-perspective thinking, in which clearly our world, our district, our 2 very divided towns in this current climate needs more of. As a district, we need to do better. You all need to do better, and our children will in turn do better. Thank you.
Samantha. Next, we have Paul Parsons. Excuse me. I appreciate that energy, but we need to allow everyone else to speak. Thank you. Next is Paul Parsons.
My name's Paul Parsons. My wife and I live at 10 Park Avenue in Maplewood for the last 46 years. I think this is the first time I've spoke to the Board of Education. We raised 4 daughters that all went through the school district, graduated from Columbia. I now have 5 grandchildren going through the school district. 3 of my daughters live in the district. They all got great educations. My oldest granddaughter is a freshman in college. She played in the orchestra all 4 years. I also taught at Columbia in the 70s for a number of years. And when I was there, we had a great art and music department, but we also had a great industrial art department. And over the years, budget cuts, that kind of went by the wayside, at least most of the department did, I believe. And when something like that goes, it's hard for it to come back. And like somebody just said, in the arts, when you make, please don't take it for granted, because when it gets cut too deep, it's just so hard to bring back again. One of the things I've noticed by teaching and raising my daughters and my grandkids is there's more to art and music than just the singing and the sculpturing, and all those things are important, the music. So many kids struggle a bit in math or reading, and I've learned, at least I think, that so much of learning is self-confidence. And those kids that struggle in those courses, many of them can find something else. They have other talents, and many of the times it's in the arts and music. And the confidence that comes from that can then translate into them believing that they can do math and that they can read better. And that confidence, just to make a personal note, I have a son-in-law that also went through the district, graduated from Columbia maybe 30 years ago. His passion is singing, but his career isn't singing. He struggled, he had a learning disability in school, and he didn't learn well. but he loves to sing. And through the music department at Columbia, a guy named Wayne Fenstermarker was his music. He grew confidence that allowed him, he's now very successful in finance, but that wouldn't have happened. He would have had a much different outcome if he didn't have that confidence that the music program brought him. So please, when you consider cuts, remember it's more than just music and arts. It's confidence to help in other
Thank you,
things
Paul.
too.
Next we have Jamie Ramsberg. Jamie Ramsberg.
Hello, I'm Jamie Ramsberg, resident of South Orange, mom of a freshman and sophomore at CHS, and current teacher at Clinton School. To be honest, I had trouble deciding which of the many issues facing our district I should talk about tonight. The extreme cuts to the arts departments, the lack of transparency with the budget process, or the fact that people found out they were losing their jobs on Facebook instead of from HR. But I'm going to focus on the abolishment of the Director of Guidance position at CHS, while some employees in central office are receiving raises next year. The current guidance director has kept parents informed about information sessions, class registration, and much more. He was also quick to reply to questions or concerns. I would like to know what your plan is to cover all the responsibilities that the current director handles. It is my understanding that our amazing guidance counselors are already stretched very thin with large numbers of students assigned to them. They certainly cannot be expected to take on the extra work. Does that mean the work just won't be done? Or the counselors will have to sacrifice time with the students, the ones this district is supposed to be serving, in order to cover the other responsibilities? I also find it absurd that this position was listed under central office in the list of cuts. It is my understanding that the Director of Guidance works out of the high school. It is a student and parent-facing position. One might think that this category misplacement is a way to make it look like the central office is making equal cuts when they really aren't. I also understand that multiple central office employees are getting pay raises in the next budget. I can't imagine how you can justify raising any central office pay when cutting a single teacher or student-facing staff member. The hard-working teachers and staff in this district already do so much with so little. How can you ask them to do even more with even less while cutting positions and salaries and giving raises to central office staff? I implore you to rethink this cut and keep the position of Director of Guidance. Thank you.
Next we have Sam Finlay. Sam Finlay.
Hello, board. My name is Sam Finley. I'm a parent of a Columbia sophomore, and I am a member of the Soma community. And I understand that your job is a hard one. The district has lost COVID-era state funding, and there are many, many areas that require investment. I'll also remind you that you chose this assignment, and I'm sure you knew full well what you were getting into. This is your moment to show us you are what you campaigned to be. I'll also remind you that you inherited a district that is known for its focus on the arts. And I'll also point out that if you hope to continue in a life of public service, you don't want to be sitting on a board that let the celebrated programs of South Orange and Maplewood go unfunded. We wrote, I'm glad that you found the money to refurbish Ritzer Field. I'm glad that you're able to give raises to central office positions. You, however, need to lean in on your responsibilities to the arts. The fact that the high school auditorium is unusable is unacceptable. You should be genuinely shocked that performing groups are homeless, removed to other schools and maybe even other districts to find places for their performances. You should be actively working on making sure that next year is not like this year. You should work to make sure that we have an auditorium. You should be working to ensure that we are able to improve and expand the arts and not reduce its resources for another year. You chose this job. You told everyone you could do it. Now it's time to get to work. Thank you.
Next we have Margaret Pickren. Margaret Pickren.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Pickron. I'm a resident of Maplewood, and I have a 7th grader who is an orchestra member at SOMS, and a proud, actually, member of the early morning chamber orchestra, which Bill Cook runs on Tuesday mornings at 7:25, if that gives you any insight to his dedication. I'm here tonight to ask for a forensic audit of our district's budget. We want to know how we got here. It's clear that the district is not on a sustainable path. In the spring of last year, numerous board members expressed dismay at the budget process and asked for improvements this year. And yet, here we are, facing a staggering shortfall and very little runway, if any, for the board and community at large to make any meaningful changes to the budget. The excruciating reduction in force, which hit the middle schools particularly hard, as well as the high school, and the unsustainable budget cuts to the arts and STEM programming sadly indicate that we have lost our way. Which, by the way, will there even be an orchestra next year at SOMS? Do we have a position to fill? It's unclear. How are we promoting an equitable education if all of our children don't have meaningful access to STEM and the arts? For 24-25, we are forecasting over $19 million for out-of-district tuition. Let that sink in. $19 million, over 19. At the same time, our students are going to school in buildings that are crumbling around them, and in some cases refusing to use bathrooms that are simply in disrepair. How is this okay? We cannot continue to ask our teachers, staff, and most importantly, our children to continue bearing the burden of a very problematic budget. This dysfunction has to end. So again, I implore this board to do the brave thing and the courageous thing tonight, conduct an audit, look inward, do that.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
And next we have Cynthia Longley-Richards. Cynthia Longley-Richards.
I'm not Cynthia, but I have her remarks. Is that allowed? Yes, it's allowed, I guess, right? Okay. Good evening. My name is
So if I could just interrupt for a second. So normally, a person can use their time to make a speech, but that's it. So this would be your time right now.
Okay. I'm sorry I cannot be here in person this evening to express my dismay about the state of the district in general, but specifically the arts programs and anticipated cuts. I began the cello in the Jefferson School in 3rd grade, continued to Maplewood Middle, where I picked up the saxophone and then participated in both orchestra and band programs at CHS. This person was the drum major of the marching band, and I think there are still pictures of me on the wall. None of my musical training would have been possible without the strong arts program that we had then. I now live in Millburn, and it's not me, remember, a member of the Board of Education. I'm still connected to SOMA as I teach many students, both on the cello and in choirs at Morrow Church. The arts are integral to education. It's shocking that in a community of such creative and artistic people that the schools are going to cut these programs for these students. I'm absolutely dumbfounded that anyone can make such a mess of a once great district. Who is running the show? Why do you keep adding administrators? Why do you pay for lawsuits instead of doing the right thing in the first place? Why have generations of boards and admin let the buildings fall into such disrepair? Who is responsible for the budget? Okay, I actually know that one, the business administrator. Since I work with an amazing one, again, not me, I see this as a weak link. My hope is that for all of you, my alma mater, is that you can get some real leadership and people who are actually good with numbers and know Excel to right this sinking ship. Cutting the arts is a cowardly move that appears an easy fix, but will have ripple effects affecting the generations to come. Please reconsider. I can't see how many seconds I have, but here are my words. Take a moment, and these are my words. Take a moment and acknowledge the words from these students, the teachers, and your community. Look around. This is why we all moved here. It's a passionate team of teachers, educators, and creative people. Cutting the programs, removing supplies, firing educators, construction debacles, asbestos. None of this would happen if we had a team or a person managing the budget.
Thank you.
If you vote for the business administrator,
Thank
as
you.
one student said, we will not forgive you if you let this die. I was in the high school this morning and I was with the CHS teachers. They need your help. The students do too.
Thank you. Next, we have Andrea Alexander. We have Andrea Alexander. Andrea Alexander.
Sorry, I was back there and kind of got stuck. Hi, my name is Andrea Alexander. I am a 24-year resident of South Orange and a parent of a current junior. I've had kids in district for the last 14 years. I'm here tonight because I am tired and I am frustrated, and my kid is tired. I have witnessed over the past decade plus the implementation of measures done for optics that were not successful, only to be scrapped and replaced a year later with equally unsuccessful measures. Through it all, nobody has really given thought to our kids, but I'm just going to focus on the last few weeks. My kid emailed me 2 weeks before AP exams that there's still construction in the building that could be disruptive to the testing. Then we get an email from the principal a few days before AP exams saying that they would love to stop construction, but it would cost the district well over $300,000 to do so, as if this was a surprise. These AP dates are set in stone a year plus in advance. How was this not contemplated 6 months or a year ago? It would have been super easy to carve out these 2 weeks as a dead period and require construction to be paused so penalties would not accrue. It's not about the construction per se, but where was the thought about our kids? Our kids are always an afterthought. Then came a text this week that my son's guidance counselor, who he really liked, was leaving. He was really upset because she's been wonderful with him, but then we find out that head of guidance is also, the position has been cut. Many kids are going into senior year with that anxiety, and there's no direction as to who's going to cover next year. The district is in constant flux, and again, who is thinking about our kids? You heard from all of them tonight. They are not okay. Then there are the budget cuts. We talk about the achievement gap, but we never move the needle, and we never will with bigger classes, less teachers, and removal of the arts. Where is the 1 year, the 2 year, and the 5 year forecast? How do the teachers not have paper and toner, but central office administrators are getting raises? How do we function this way year after year? I've spoken about a dozen teachers over the last couple of weeks, and every one of them is heartbroken, disgusted, and broken. And this is rubbing off on our kids. The district talks about mental health for our students, but the actions don't match the words. Now, positively, my kids have gotten a really great education in district, but that's because of the teachers and in spite of the district. Our district is broken, our kids are broken.
Thank you, Andrea.
Okay. For our teachers, we see you, we hear you, we support you, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Next.
I will just, and
Thank
for
you.
the Board of Ed, please, we need full transparency and we need a budget.
Next, we have Tony Mazzocchi. Tony Mazzocchi.
Good evening, Tony Mazzocchi. Proud CHS graduate, along with many classmates over the years, has made an incredible living through the arts thanks to this district. And thank you for your words tonight, Dr. Gilbert. But you know, at the top of every piece of our kids' homework, quizzes, tests. There are the instructions that say, show your work. Show your work. And despite your words tonight about moving forward with transparency, the adults here have not shown their work for 3 years, and specifically not for the last 3 months. When you have, it's been sloppy, woefully incomplete. You've had board members with far too many questions, and most disturbing, oftentimes you have not been honest with this community with the information. That's why many of us are here this evening. For you and the BA to deal with this self-made disaster by cutting staff, funding for direct supports and supplies for students, including brutal arts cuts and systemic programming that goes away forever when it's cut, while protecting your own in-district office despite the nonsense you posted under central office in the list of cuts. It's thoughtless. It's an insult to the collective intelligence of this community. So let's talk about some things that are actionable this evening. Number one, while you sit here and approve cuts to 28 staff, programs, supports for students, supplies, you are voting to reward the BA with tenure, which has not been earned. Please sever that portion of the resolution and vote no. And please know, it gives me no great pleasure saying that, none at all. And two, please pledge out loud tonight that once a new superintendent is hired, perhaps yourself, you'll commit to objectively and diligently doing the work in collecting data to review these cuts and restore budget lines that have been cut through budget transfers, even if it does mean cutting your own admin. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Anina Rosen. Anina Rosen. Anina Rosen.
Sorry, didn't know I was up now. Okay, I'm Anina Rawson, resident of South Orange for 20 or so years. The children of this community are relying on the adults around the horseshoe to make decisions that will strengthen the education offered to them here, not deny responsibility, fail to make budget forecasts, and lead the district off the fiscal cliff where we are cutting supplies, teachers, programs, and direct student support. Mr. Burnside's fiscal mismanagement and lack of budget planning are unacceptable, and he should not be rewarded tenure. I shared his job description with the BOE this week, and his failure to carry out his responsibilities is clear. Among the highlights, compile data and collaborate with administrators, members of the senior leadership team, Board of Ed, Finance Committee, et cetera, to construct a detailed, transparent, and fiscally responsible budget. Also, assist the superintendent in developing and implementing a long-range strategic plan for the district. Those always include budgets. My second issue is the continued cuts to music and the arts. Music and arts had already lost 23% of its budget and now an additional 35%. Asked about our schools, people often first tout the incredible arts programming, but this doesn't happen without instruments, funds to repair instruments, music, and performance spaces. Music and arts was already woefully underfunded and will continue to be so, it seems. It appears that the Psalms Orchestra position has also not being listed, and Mr. Radcliffe's position was not renewed. Finally, Mr. Vecchione's position, do you know what he does? Do you know that he creates the master schedule of all of the classes at Columbia? Do you know that when the guidance counselors go to register students, they can't do it without a master schedule? I would be willing to bet that every parent of a Columbia student in this room has emailed Mr. Vecchione at least once. He is essential to figuring out all problems with scheduling, registration, and guidance. His role is not superfluous in any way. I suggest you go back to central office and find a different position to eliminate where the responsibilities overlap with others. The solution suggested by central office has been to do more with less. Central office should do that before any resources are taken away from teachers and students.
Next we have Paul Gakowski. Next we have Paul Gakowski.
Yeah, he's had to go pick up our daughter who's free dance outside of the school because the program's here. Well, but he just wants to know where the budget is.
Okay. Next. All right, next we have Jen Spiegler.
I'm done for tonight, right?
All right.
Please, I forgot to mention that. You all need a head of guidance.
All right, next we have Amy Merlino Cray, or Coe.
Hi, my head is spinning a little bit. I have an 11th, it's Amy Coe. I have an 11th grader and a 7th grader. I started getting involved, I'm also on the board of the Music Parents Association at the high school. I started getting involved in January when a teacher came to me and told me that many of the teachers had been promised large sums of money due to the movies that came and filmed at school and disrupted their classes, and Principal Sanchez said that that money was going to go directly to them, and then they were told, actually, no, that was a mistake. And so I gave up on that when everything happened with Principal Frank, and I figured, well, that was going nowhere. And then I got involved in advocating for the music and the arts programs when we were told the budget was going to be cut. I came here to speak about that. I would like to say that the wonderful thing about this district, we're all talking about the bad things, these children are beautiful. They have spoken so wonderfully. I can't even begin to, I'm just truly amazed at how eloquent they all have been. So I'm not going to talk about the music and arts because they did that better than I did. I will say the budget was $222,000. It went $222,000. It went to $172,000. I have what I think is the budget here. It's the, I look at budgets every day for a living. I can't figure this out. But I think it went from $122,000 now to $100,000 about next year for the arts. It's not enough. But like, that was the one thing I was going to talk about, but then both of my children are horribly upset about the creative computing. My daughter is upset that her Miss Bodger, her teacher in the math in middle school, has been cut, who's been a huge rock while there's been chaos going on in that department. I hear that the athletic secretary, who does all the transportation, is being cut. And now I didn't even know about Mr. Vecchione. I'm like, what is happening? So many things are being lost, but the bottom line is we need to fix this. We need to hire someone who can fix this next year, please.
Thank you. Next we have Becky Zlotnick. Becky Zlotnick.
Hi. First time. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zlotnick. I'm a longtime Maplewood resident. Here's my pedigree. I have degrees in engineering, communication, educational technology, and I've been teaching high school math in another district for over 27 years. So as expected, I'm here to talk about saving the arts. You might be thinking, why is that STEM nerd so concerned about the arts? Because the arts are integral to success in academics. One of my engineering predecessors is Leonardo da Vinci. He used scientific principles to advance his art and art to communicate his findings in science. Neither exists in a vacuum. I have two very musical children, one graduate, one still at CHS, both involved in many music classes and activities in district, both very academically successful, but neither would have been as engaged at school if not for their music. While I'm well aware that correlation does not equate to causation, there's so much correlation. My son is considering a STEM major in college, but can't exist without music in his life. So on our tour circuit, we've spoken to representatives at several schools like Rutgers and Pitt, who estimate that 40 to 50% of their marching band members are engineering students and other STEM majors. And if that isn't quantitative enough for you, how about this? In 2020, a study entitled An Analysis of Association Between School Music Participation and Academic Achievement was published in the Journal of Educational Psychology using a sample size of over 110,000 students. The study found that students highly engaged in music were on average over one academic year ahead of their peers not engaged in school music, and this finding was independent of sex, cultural background, or socioeconomic status. I sent you all the link. I understand there is a budget deficit due to a lack of foresight and improper planning. But I caution you as an experienced math educator, the easy answer is not to cut arts funding. Losing programming and teachers would be detrimental to not just overall student achievement, but also to standardized test scores. We are a district known for our arts. It has been proven that engagement in the arts in school improves academic performance. Let's not lose our steam.
Thank you. Next we have Julie Decker. Julie Decker. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Or is this Julie Detchen or Julie Decker?
Decker.
Deschen? Deschen? All right. Anna Herstadt?
Good evening, I'm Anna Herstadt. I am an 8th grade teacher at Maplewood Middle School, 27 years. Dear board members, I'm speaking on behalf of the faculty and staff at Maplewood Middle School. Our dedicated friend and dearest colleague was terminated last Friday due to the unfortunate round of budget cuts. One cannot possibly comprehend the value and commitment Mrs. Christine Bogner has demonstrated in her 33-plus years at Maplewood Middle School. We have witnessed her service going way beyond her scope as Title I aide and has treated each and every student and faculty member as family. Mrs. Bogner has patiently worked with all children at risk or not. She has lovingly and patiently sat side by side, day in and day out, with those who struggled the most in ELA and particularly math. She always made sure in some way to celebrate those little academic victories for children who would not have had the opportunity at home. She bought treats for students who were neglected, wiped the tears of children who cried over homework, classwork, or personal life, and just sat and listened to children who had no one else to whom they could confide. Mrs. Bogner spent hours and hours testing incoming students to the district and annually prepared the state testing minutia along with her administrator while detailing the demands of the paperwork. She has been a mentor to students, breakfast duty maven, front office fill-in time and time again. Her attention to detail is unmatched, and she's highly respected amongst her math colleagues, even new ones, as she has been a beneficial source of math methods and historical pedagogy in the math department. Last Friday, with 234 sick days banked and 33 years of service, Mrs. Bogner was handed a box of tissues and told she could not be returning in the 24-25 school year. We ask kindly that the board reconsider her appointment as Title I aide to continue to serve the at-risk population, as her position is not fringe, but a necessary and needed support, or afford her another similar position at MMS. This removal harms the most vulnerable population in our community, and we must be committed to be equitable to all. Mrs. Bogner is an asset to staff and students. We simply cannot afford to lose to budget cuts and unwanted forceful leave. My colleagues co-sign this sentiment, and Mrs. Bogner is not just a colleague, but continues to be a part of the MMS family, an important member at that.
Thank you. Next we have Ambra Teague. Ambra Teague.
Hi, everyone. Ambra Teague, Maplewood, parent of a junior and an 8th grader. I've served as Clinton PTA president, Psalms grade coordinator, president, council member at large, and second vice president. I'm currently the CHS, HSA, and Midnight Madness treasurer. I've also spent over 30 years working in operational finance, with my most recent role as vice president of league operations finance for the NFL. I tell you this so you know that I not only have a deep understanding of what is required and expected of an operational finance role, but I also have a deep institutional knowledge of our district. I was going to ask you to vote a certain way tonight, but I'm not going to do that. I want to explore an idea shared by our interim principal earlier this week. He said we should investigate any and all disturbances that are preventing CHS from being a school of excellence. The bar has been set. Now, we know kids learn from example, so let's investigate what they have seen recently. They saw an exceptional principal be dragged into court and face losing his job due to shenanigans perpetrated by this very board over an incident that was investigated and dismissed. That is not excellence. They see that the position of Director of Guidance, Counseling, and Social Work is slated to be abolished tonight, a critical position that oversees the team that holds our kids' futures in their hands. All gone because other administrators did not do their homework. That is not excellence. They see a business administrator slated to be rewarded with tenure by an interim superintendent who doesn't have budget oversight experience, even though he didn't perform the critical forecasting functions because, according to a member of this board, he wasn't asked to do so. That is not excellence. Nearly everything you are voting on tonight is not excellence. Cutting arts, everything. So we knew that COVID money was going away. This should have been planned and actively mitigated. Depending on how you vote tonight, our kids might see mediocrity rewarded and excellence punished. Rules for thee, but not for me. We need to do better, expect more, ask for detailed budget projections and analysis, because this is the tip of the iceberg. And you're voting on our new super. Please take care to do a good job with that.
Thank you, Umbra. Next, we have Jeff Bennett. Jeff Bennett.
I've been a board watcher for 12 years, and this is the second budget crisis I've seen. However, the difference between this crisis and the one of 2009 to 2014 is that this crisis has no trigger, whereas the one from 13 years ago was caused by losing $4 million in state aid, and thereafter getting minimal aid increases. This is different. We're gaining $1 million in state aid next year. Although federal COVID money has run out, we knew exactly that this was going to happen. Although we are gaining students for next year, which gives us an adjustment to the tax cap, our K-12 enrollment is still 400 students below its pre-COVID peak. Except for Nutley, I haven't found another aid-gaining district with budget stress or a crisis like this. As fiduciaries of this district, I asked you to do what the Nutley BOE did as soon as they heard about their crisis and hire a forensic audit. Thank you. In the meantime, I ask you to scrutinize the budget and look at areas where the social or academic payoff is minimal. Unfortunately, one such area where I'll risk criticism pointing out is the cost of pre-K busing. Our pre-K sites are very small schools with as few as 15 kids, hence they have very few riders per bus. Moreover, pre-K kids are little and hence the need door-to-door pickup and drop-off. It's opaque how kids are assigned to pre-Ks, but it seems like the kids are in a diffuse cloud around each school, so routes must be meandering. When you approved pre-K busing last year, the only pre-K listed in the presentations was Montrose, when you actually bus kids to 5 other schools. I don't think that omission is entirely the business administrator's fault, but he does have some responsibility for it. In short, we have 13 routes for pre-K with only 139 kids assigned to them. That's 11 kids per bus, 11. Moreover, 6 of the 13 pre-K buses are untiered, so they are twice as expensive as regular busing. 3 of the pre-K buses are special ed, but even looking at the 8 gen ed buses, that's $120,000 per untiered bus and $60,000 per tiered bus. So it's $780,000, even before bus aids. With that money, you could undo a quarter of the cuts you're making tonight.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, we have Mary Alice Zavaki. Mary Alice Zavaki.
Good evening, everyone. STEM occupations are projected to grow by nearly 11% by 2030, over 2 times faster than the combined total for all non-STEM careers. I'm a teacher at MMS, a proud CHS alum, and I'm here to advocate for the students who love creative computing and design. Creative Comp is STEM. Creative Comp is a class where students learn that failure is not fatal, but rather a means to achievement. They build life skills like perseverance, resiliency, and never quit attitudes by working through challenges. Creative Comp is a class where all students have the opportunity to succeed, even those who often struggle in school. Hands-on activities provide opportunities to create and innovate and experience success. Creative Comp is a classroom community where students share ideas, support peer accomplishments, collaborate, and treat one another with consideration and respect. Creative Comp is a class where students are challenged to step outside their comfort zones and try new things. They're encouraged to take risks. Creative Comp is a class where students have opportunities to immerse themselves in learning experiences like truss bridge testing and earthquake-safe building design, using the engineering design process to learn what architects and engineers do. Creative Comp inspires students to consider careers in STEM, and open doors for students of color and girls who are grossly underrepresented in STEM fields. Creative Comp fulfills the 8th grade technology graduation requirement. Creative Comp impacts the school community. Whether students take the class or not, they frequent the classroom makerspace to work on projects for other classes, 3D print CAD designs, or just wait for the bus or a club to begin in a safe, welcoming space. Creative Comp excites the community about STEM in middle school at events like Maker Madness, Back to School Night, and School in Action. Creative Comp is rich in student voice and choice with lessons reflecting cultures, backgrounds, and interests so students can show their pride. Creative Comp operates using recycled materials, repurposed items, and grant funding. This has two benefits. It teaches students the importance of contributing to a sustainable planet, and it costs the district very little, like $0. Creative Comp should remain a cornerstone of the middle school experience. Creative Comp is STEM. Thank you.
Next, we have Glenn Wright. Glenn Wright.
So what are the chances I wrote something on this? My name is Glenn Wright. I teach 8th grade science, so can I have your attention, though? Look at me, please. Just, no, listen, it's a long night. I asked my 8th graders for their attention. So most of you have. I've watched you all night. Most of you have given your attention. What am I going to talk about? I'm talking about STEM. I can't talk about a teacher because a dear friend of mine, my opinion would be subjective, and you know that. This is my 14th season at Maplewood Middle teaching science. I spent 20 years on Wall Street, whatever that is. The reason I tell you that is I teach differently because of those 20 years. I know the world is begging for problem solvers and innovators, and my rage against the machine, not of this district, but of public education as a whole. We so rarely cultivate problem solving and innovating. We don't champion it that much either. For lack of a better word, we have a lot of children that suck at school. And if I asked you to close your eyes, what would a room of 28 of those kids look like? And what I have seen is out of those 28, 20 of them are either problem solvers or innovators. And it's all but impossible for the decision makers down the road to see what we see. Problem solving and innovating. There's only one room in Maplewood Middle School where that is championed, and it is through the STEM and Creative Comp room. It is. So, Christ, I have 9 seconds. Decisions are so hard to overturn. This is one I'd ask you at least to think about. I'll meet you for coffee and I'll pay for it. At $20, or what happens at Starbucks anyway. If it's late in the evening, it won't be coffee. But I'm still buying. Think this one through. This is something that can be grown for nothing. It can be grown. And those kids that suck at schools, is that a bad word?
Thanks, Glenn.
They thrive. They do. I have pictures where we have 8 hands on building What are we going to do this weekend, Zavaki? We're going to cut the 4 by 8 foot foam things into the earthquake shake table thing.
Thanks, Glenn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Beth Constantino.
Good evening. I'm Beth Cosentino. I live in Maplewood. I'm the president of CPAC Soma, and I'm here on behalf of the CPAC Soma Executive Board. CPAC Soma is the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee in the South Orange and Maplewood School District. The bottom line for all of us is the students. And what do they need to succeed? Opportunity and accessibility. Students require support, whether it is special education services or a gen ed student who needs a tiered system of interventions. Will they have opportunities and access to their free and appropriate public education that is rightfully theirs so that they may succeed? Not if you take away the educators who provide that support, such as a special education teacher, a math interventionist, or a school counselor. You are working against those students' success. What else do students need to succeed? Family engagement and accessibility. Research has shown that students who have parents or guardians engaged with their educational journeys will be more successful in school, yet the parent or the community parent liaison is being cut. Will the English language learners' families have access to be engaged if there is no longer an ELL, aid, parent liaison? Eliminating these family engagement positions is working against students' success. What else do students need to succeed? Certified professionals, such as a school psychologist, who has a very specific skill set that cannot be absorbed by anyone else except another school psychologist. We are stretched thin with our child study team members as it is. Eliminating someone who is a dedicated certified professional works against student success. The choices have been made, and some of them will work against student success. However, I urge you, the CPAC Soma Executive Board urges you to listen to the teachers and the students and the families and work with us to keep those students, bring them to the forefronts of your minds and efforts. Make a commitment to those students whose success is now at risk.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Next, we have our online public speaks. First, we'll have Max Freidstern.
Design class. As a former MMS student and a current CHS student, and a former competent, I believe that these classes should be the priority of the district and should not be cut. STEM, artificial intelligence, and other technologies that are taught are the future, and this should be a priority. As for the teacher, Ms. Vaki, she is one of the most kind and compassionate teachers that I've ever had, and losing her as a teacher would be a huge loss for the district. In an era with technological advancements and creativity, these classes are pillars of innovation, offering skills and perspectives that are important for success in the modern world. Proficiency in technology is no longer optional, it is essential. These classes equip students with the technical skills needed to navigate the digital world with confidence. From graphic design and web development to animation and game design, These classes offer a hands-on experience. By mastering these skills, students are better prepared for the increasingly digital nature of our society. Thank you.
Next, we have Ben Vitale.
Thank you. Good evening. I first want to this budget crisis was largely the work of previous boards, other circumstances beyond your control.
Mr. Vitale, you'll need to speak up a little bit. We cannot hear you.
Is that better?
A little bit better. You need to speak a little bit louder. Or move closer to the microphone.
Okay. All right. You want me to dial in and I could speak later in the program?
Oh, we've raised up the volume a little bit more. Can you please try again?
Sure. If it doesn't work out, let me know. I'll dial in on the phone.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. So good evening. I first want to acknowledge that this budget crisis was largely the work of previous boards or other circumstances beyond your control. Second, I hope everyone here tonight who is complaining considers demanding that our federal and state leaders advance further healthcare reform. Spiraling costs of health benefits are on track to consume the entire school budget. I want to mention that our music program has literally changed my daughter's life. It really does have great value, and I appreciate all the students speaking. Now for the main comment I want to make, when the budget is over the line, as it is this year, everyone wants to point to their least favorite things that pushed us over that line, because you can say that each and every dollar was the one that actually broke the back of the budget. I'll tell you about the things I don't like. I'm not alone when I complain about the ongoing increase of security in our district. I have written to you with peer-reviewed research from Johns Hopkins showing that increased school surveillance increases the achievement gap. I have written to note that only 11% of schools nationwide require students to wear IDs. We have a large school, but even there, only 28% of really large schools nationwide require wearing IDs. It disappoints me that our district is in the bottom 28% on this issue. I acknowledge that there have been some recent incidents that raise concern this year. I continue to believe that traffic safety is the actual #1 danger to our students, and if we make rational decisions about security, we should look at the data, and traffic really is the most dangerous thing. And recent events did, in fact, involve traffic. When our district created the half-time and later full-time position of Director of Security, I objected because I saw that this would cost us in liberty. But of course, there's also a cost in dollars. This is not personal. I'm sure everyone here is working with the best intentions, but I prefer spending money on teachers. Every other cost must be scrutinized. Should we spend this dollar on teachers instead? I'm very skeptical of spending on technology. It depreciates very fast. Most of all, I object to spending on security technology. This rapidly growing industry is leading the way to shift our country and our schools away from freedom and trust and toward fear and suspicion, a way of life centered on accountability rather than responsibility. Your budget cuts 28 positions and spends $2.8 million on technology. This is in addition to $8 million of security spending in the facilities plan and security salaries in the operating budget every year. I understand the state earmarks.
Thank you, Ben.
Just one more sentence, please. Understandably, your business office seems to be doing a good job in difficult circumstances, is very busy. So I haven't been able to find out exactly how much of that security spending is on surveillance, on technology spending is on security technology.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. Anyway, you get the pictures. Please spend on teachers, not security, and arts and music instead of security.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Lucia Goldstein.
That committee member is not online.
Next, we have Michelle Groner. Michelle.
Am I unmuted? Great. Good evening. I'm the mother of a 9th and 11th grader at CHS and someone who has spent the last 28 years of my professional life working in the arts. This is the first time I am ever speaking at a BOE meeting. We moved to South Orange because it was a community full of those who work, play, and support to play in and support the arts. Surely the district would be a place where our kids would flourish in these areas. We pay nearly $30,000 a year in taxes, and yet we are cutting basic needs for the arts, STEM positions, and a senior counselor position at CHS that has been a vital bridge between the school, parents, and students, which is no easy feat. And we are giving tenure or considering tenure to a business administrator who has steered us into these waters without a plan. This is outrageous. How did we get here? I would like to focus on the arts mostly. It is a well-researched fact that the younger children are exposed to the arts and programs like that, the more likely they are to carry that heritage well into their lives, well beyond high school and into their adult lives. Children exposed to art and music education create more empathetic, intellectually curious, and literate adults. Since well beyond the onset of the chaos set in by COVID, this district has struggled with consistency, equality, and harmony. For all the talk of equity, and access from this board and staff, these cuts tell me that you are speaking about this from both sides of your mouth. I want to read you something from Education Next, which is a very well-regarded publication called The Fine Art of School Engagement. Quote, we find that arts learning has a positive effect on empathy, school engagement, student discipline, and writing achievement. Students' emotional and cognitive empathy increased by 7.2% and a 3.9% of standard deviation, respectively. At schools with expanded arts education, students are 20.7% less likely to have a disciplinary infraction. School engagement increases by 8% of a standard deviation. Arts learning improves writing test scores by 13% of a standard deviation, but does not have significant effects on reading, math, or science test scores per se. The positive effects are especially pronounced among English language learners whose writing scores improve by a 27% standard of deviation. These results demonstrate that the arts positively affect meaningful education outcome and can inform strategies to restore and retain arts education in
Thank you,
underrepresented
Lucia.
schools. Please consider keeping the arts funded in our district. It is such a vital part of learning for our children well beyond those specific classes.
Thank you. Next, we have Ronnie Schwartz.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, Dr. Telesford, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Thank you. Usually I like to focus on one topic, but this month I have so many concerns, my head is spinning. So bullet points. It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and I want to emphasize how much I continue to appreciate Frank Sanchez, his character, his communication style, his commitment to CHS, and his love for all our kids. I appreciate Renee Johnston, a wonderful guidance counselor. I understand she's told she's being cut due to her performance issue. I don't find that pretense believable because I've also heard she was reprimanded for wearing a keffiyeh. As a Jewish parent, I reject that divisive notion. Soma's embrace of its diversity can't flinch in times like these. I urge you to sever her non-renewal from tonight's vote, investigate how she wound up on the list, and probably save us some legal expenses we'd otherwise deserve. I appreciate Mr. Vecchione and his critical job as head of guidance. I know all cuts are painful. Still, I urge you to reconsider this one. It's a terrible choice. I do not appreciate interim CHS principal Pedro. His tone is awful. His emails are so unprofessional they look like spam, and he has no idea how to communicate with teens or families. I've also heard too many stories about the appalling and misogynistic ways he speaks to teachers. Finally, the budget disaster. Let's be clear. The former board president and vice president oversaw this mess. Some people are calling for the BA's job. I find that to be ridiculous. Put him on a performance improvement plan? Sure, but it's simply not all on him. We should hold the former leadership accountable. And speaking of accountability, a question for the three of you who ran on a platform of expanding courtesy busing beyond what is required using tax money. What's that costing us in reality? At this point, it's beyond irresponsible, and my anger about it is only compounded by the audacity with which you now feign ignorance. Thank you.
Next, we have Sarah Rothman.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening. I am a Clinton and Psalms parent and lifelong amateur cellist, and I want to speak tonight about the cuts to music. It's not clear to me how the middle school music program will be supported given these cuts. Mr. Cook is retiring from Psalms and there is no open position posted for his replacement. Although the band teacher, Mr. Pasquale's layoff seems to have been rescinded, Mr. Radliff, his string counterpart in the middle schools, has been let go. This leaves Psalms with no orchestra instruction at all, which cannot be the plan for the upcoming school year, given that 250 kids participate in the string program there. What is the plan? And will fifth grade instrument instruction remain next year? Music education benefits students in giving them a creative outlet, a sense of pride in performance, a feeling of teamwork, and it literally improves brain structure and function. If you haven't already done so, I encourage everyone around the Horseshoe tonight to attend a district band or orchestra concert at any level. The energy is infectious and uplifting. The talent of the teachers is fully impressive. But our music program also improves our whole community by providing free concerts and enabling our students to represent our district at music festivals and competitions across the state. Finally, while public school music kids sometimes do become professional musicians, many, many more go on to be music lovers and supporters and amateur performers. In fact, we are the musicians of the South Orange Community Orchestra and the Maplewood Chamber Music Workshop and numerous other organizations. We are graduates of public school music programs from all over, and we all have day jobs outside of music, and we bring free concerts to this community. Cutting music has generational effects. As it was pointed out tonight, when cuts are made, it is tough to come back. So commit now to having a plan to build a music program, starting with the fifth grade on up. The number of student musicians in the district is growing, and you owe it to students and to the whole community to figure it out. Thank you.
Next, we have Lucia Goldstein.
Hello? Hi.
We can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lucia Goldstein, and I was in the 8th grade at MMS last year. Although I'm not currently attending an SOMSD school, I look back on my time in the district fondly. 8th grade was my first year taking creative computing and design, and it quickly managed to become my favorite class. I deeply valued the skills it taught me and the small community the class had created. Throughout the class, my interest in STEM grew. Ms. Savaki was an amazing support for both class and personal matters. I remember being encouraged to dive further into STEM and to incorporate it into other classes. Creative Comp was such a great part of my middle school experience, and that's why removing it from the Maplewood Middle School curriculum will negatively affect the future generations of students. Creative Comp is the only class throughout the 3 years of MMS that is STEM-based. It sets students up for their future classes and careers through coding, engineering, 3D printing, studying architecture, and so much more. With the rise of technology, STEM jobs will soon dominate and become extremely high in demand. Creative Comp inspires interest in students to pursue a STEM career, simply to look into it, or to take STEM-related classes and programs in their high schools. However, in the beginning of many students' high school lives, it's difficult to take STEM-oriented courses because there are so few slots outside of required classes. It's very difficult to balance something such as an instrument with other interests in school. This is why it's important to have a STEM introduction as early as possible, drawing in more students of more demographics that may have not been able to attend otherwise. This is especially true for AFAB and female-presenting individuals. According to the American
Is she still connected?
Yeah, still connected.
We can come back to her.
Okay.
Next, we have Jen Sturm.
Hi. Yes, okay, it's working. Hi, my name is Jen Sturm, and I'm the parent to a CHS sophomore. In the past week, I have learned that my kid's history teacher left at the end of Q3 for a better paying job, and my child has received 0 history instruction since she left. Their school counselor, Ms. Johnston, is not having her contract renewed due to apparent bias. ESS, the school support program many of our kids rely on to attend school and make it through the day, including mine, has not had their contract renewed. The director of guidance counseling and social work is on the chopping block tonight. And our interim principal is spamming parents with his obsessions about students' Instagram accounts over which he has 0 jurisdiction, rather than actually supporting our children at this critical moment in their academic careers. This is out of control. How is this what our Board of Education and interim superintendent are allowing to happen? Back to Ms. Johnston, who has been an important resource and presence to many students at CHS. You know how the rumor mill is here in Soma. Word is that Ms. Johnston wore a keffiyeh to school, and the principal told her she's not being renewed because it is a symbol of hate. As a Jewish parent to a Jewish student, I want to remind you that calling cultural garments a symbol of hate is discriminatory and an act of bias. I urge you to reconsider renewing Ms. Johnston's contract on this basis alone. Tonight, please remember this. Our children's futures are not a runway for your personal obsessions or ill-conceived budget cuts. Our students deserve better. Stop the dysfunction and start prioritizing their education and well-being. Thank you.
Next, we have Sabil Yosef.
That community member is no longer online.
All right. Can we go back to Lucia Goldstein?
Lucia is no longer connected.
All right. Can we go to Julie Campbell?
Julie Campbell is not online.
All right. Next, we have anonymous student.
Unfortunately, there's no one named Anonymous online.
All right, that concludes our public speaks. Now we'll move on to the action portion of our meeting.
Board members, this evening I have resolutions 4608 through 4610. Can I have a motion to move?
I have a motion to sever. Do I do that
Can we
first?
move it first before we sever?
Sure.
Please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Motion to move forward? Thank you, Board Member Eckert. Now in discussion?
Sorry, I'd like to make a motion to sever it's Resolution 4609, line 26, Eric Burnside, Business Administrator, Board Secretary. Do I have a second?
I also want to make a motion to table Resolution 4610, the reorganizational resolution.
All right. One second. All right. Thank you, Board Member Whitletter. All right.
So the motion to table takes precedence, so it requires a second, and then you need to move that first. The sever happens automatically. So just so everyone understands, you operate by a consent agenda. So a consent agenda is when you move all items at once. Any board member at any time can ask for any item to be severed from your consent agenda. It does not require a second. All it means is we want an actual vote on that, and you're automatically entitled to that. Okay, that's Robert's rules. So you don't need a motion to sever, and you don't need a second to sever. Once the board member announces, I want an item severed, it is automatically severed.
Okay, so I got it.
So now we're going to be voting on everything except for the severed.
Yeah, so you need to vote on the table, though.
I second the motion to table.
Okay.
Right, and just so everyone understands, a motion to put something on the table means to put it off for tonight.
Okay, so we can vote now on it? Okay.
Discussion, comments.
And then vote? Do they discuss?
Right, discussion, comments on the motion to table.
Yeah, I just want to explain, so the reorganizational resolution also names staff members to other positions, and just given what potential outcomes, at this moment, we are going to move forward with an appointment list, yet we don't know, staff members may not accept them. So I'm tabling it to push it to the next meeting where we will have a better understanding of our staff list.
Okay, now I get to vote. Okay. Okay. So this is to table 4610. Board Member Callahan?
Yes.
Board Member Duval Wilson?
Yes.
Board Member Eckert?
Yes.
Board Member Gifford?
Yes.
Board Member Meyer?
Yes.
Board Member Sackett Gable?
Yes.
Board President Telsford?
Yes.
Board Member Vadlamani?
Yes.
Board Member Whitletter?
Yes.
Motion passes. And now I need a new motion for the two. Okay.
So now the next motion would be a motion to approve 4608 and 4609, less the severed item. Is there a motion?
Is there a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to move that
And
forward.
and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, right? Discussion.
Board Member Vadlamani?
So I just have one comment to make before we vote yes on the renewals list. I'm extremely sorry not to see Principal Frank Sanchez on this list. I know that there's not much we can say in face of legal issues, but I do wish he was on this list.
All right, anyone else? All right, Board Member Eckert?
So first, I just want to thank all the amazing students who have come out this evening to share their stories, to advocate for themselves and all of their peers. Thank you to the teachers and community members for being here as well. I said this 2 weeks ago, we find ourselves in a really devastating situation. The almost double-digit gap that we were only made aware of a few weeks before our preliminary budget meeting has led to the elimination of 28 positions. And to say that I'm disappointed in the way the RIF process has played out is an understatement. All we see is teaching and support staff. So no, I don't believe that the pain has been shared evenly across the district or at all levels. And yes, I have had those hard internal conversations, and no, I do not agree with the final outcome. It has been disheartening to only just learn about the potential elimination of courses due to the RIF. We still don't understand the full impact on students and existing staff, and we need to know more. The student said it today. I think you're still sitting there. You're right, we're failing students. You all deserve better. I will commit to doing better. We have to do better. I mean, it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation and there are certain areas in which we can't go back. But the future of the district is on the line, and we can't sit here and do nothing. So, I'm going to ask my fellow board members sitting next to me that, once this meeting is over, we really need to come together and work with our administration to figure out how we can potentially get back some of the programs that are being cut. Sorry, it's not eloquently said. This is a really hard evening, but I just wanted to share that.
Anyone else? I guess we can go to vote.
So the motion is for 4608 and 4609. Board Member Whitletter?
Yes.
Board Member Vadlamani?
Yes.
Board President Telsford?
Yes.
Board Member Sackett Gable?
Yes.
Board Member Meyer?
Yes.
Board Member Gifford?
Yes.
Board Member Eckert?
Yes.
Board Member Deval Wilson?
Yes.
Board Member Callahan?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, we can do the next one.
So the next motion is motion 4609, line 26, Mr. Burnside's reappointment. And the motion is framed as a motion to reappoint. Is there a second? I'm sorry, is there a motion?
A motion to move forward?
Second.
Okay, discussion, right? Okay.
Discussion on the motion.
Board Member Vadlamani?
So I know the emotions are very high, and laying off staff and teachers is terrible. I mean, there is no second way around that. But the board needs to act practically and not go into vengeance mode. We are not a medieval kingdom where we kill the messenger who comes bearing bad news. Our costs are high because our kids need more support. The board must act carefully and dispassionately in tough times. It is easy to be a board member, an FFT chair, or even a superintendent when the revenues are higher than costs. It's simple. There are no problems. We must act sensibly and responsibly when our costs exceed revenue. I will vote yes to renew Mr. Burnside, and I'm asking all my board members to do the same.
Board Member Deval Wilson?
Thank you for your comments. So I've been on the board for 2 years, and each year we've had a major budget deficit. It continues to grow exponentially. Since the beginning of 2023, I, along with many of my board colleagues, have been asking the district for more data, monthly budget tracking discussions in FFT, multi-year forecasting, and more transparency with the budget. I repeat, these were asked since the beginning of 2023. So what does that tell everyone? The board
Excuse
can
me, point
advocate
of
and
order.
ask for change.
Is this not talking about evaluations?
The board can advocate and ask for change, but we cannot force the hands of our leaders. Through the superintendent search and research from fellow board members like Whitletter and Eckert, we've learned a lot about how other districts operate. We've seen the large extent that other districts size like ours over-communicate and even receive buy-in from stakeholders. I believe that we cannot look at things with a short-term lens. We board members must look at the long-term needs of our district. When we fail to look at the long-term needs, students suffer, our children's education suffers, and teachers suffer. So I want the community to know that we have a policy at 1330. That policy states that the board should annually establish procedures for the evaluation of the BA in partnership with the superintendent. Our current evaluation is not up to par for the BA. More than 10 indicators are not applicable to his role. With that said, I recommend that the board follows this policy and works on this for next year. Following this policy will ensure that the role of the BA is evaluated based on their job description and the current challenges and needs of the district. My vote tonight will reflect these opinions. Thank you.
Anyone else? Board Member Vadlamani or Board Member Meyer?
There's a lot that we can't talk about in these discussions because this is a personnel matter. We're not allowed to discuss our view of the performance of the employee at issue. But what I'm going to say is this. This district has a lot of struggles, and a lot of them were discussed tonight, and the comments made by students, parents, and staff are completely valid. Those are some of the struggles that we have. They're not all of them. We have systemic issues in our district as well as on our board, and they do reflect, they come out in these decisions. They come out in how the budget looks. They come out in what services are being provided, what services are being cut. We have a board that is extraordinarily green, all of us. You look at a lot of other boards in the state, they've got people that have served 5, 6 terms. The most senior people on our board have been here a little bit over 2 years. We have a SLT that is all full of people who have been in their roles a short time and have held roles like that for a short time. In fact, our BA is, I believe, the person who has the most senior amount of time, 10 years. We're in a situation where the current budget was developed in the shadow of absolute chaos in this district after the superintendent was summarily shoved aside on November 3rd, not as part of the sort of stable process of transitioning to a new superintendent at the end of their term, but just all of a sudden in a fit of pique. And it led to, I believe, my understanding is this central office in this district functioning from a place of chaos, and for the budget to be developed in that shadow exacerbated some of the issues that we see tonight. We're a district that seems addicted to churn, and the vote no tonight will perpetuate that churn. And that is one important thing that we need to be considering. The budget is created by a lot of different people. The BA is one person who is directly responsible for packaging it up and handing it out. But there are a lot of people in this district who are responsible for saying, yes, we can afford to get rid of this piece. Yes, you can go ahead and borrow stuff from my line item because we can do with less. We can merge those positions together. We can handle this a different way. And we have our assistant superintendent who was pushed into the role despite not having a major budgeting background, who's had to negotiate and orchestrate all of this. We're functioning from a position of weakness this year because of our own choices. And I recognize that having one scapegoat feels like a great win, right? And we can deliver that up. It sounds like is happening tonight. But just don't think that is the total answer. Don't think that is we just fixed it, because that's not what's going on.
There, Board Member Whitletter.
Thank you, Dr. Tellersford. And I had several remarks that I wanted to make this evening. I'm going to take council's advice. So the statement that I just want to make is not evaluative, but it is just how I feel right now. Our district is at an inflection point. And I'm not exaggerating, and I know you all know this when I say that the future success of this district is at stake. Plain and simple, we were all elected to ensure that the district is well-run. The resounding message from our community this evening serves as a powerful message that we are falling short of these expectations and that we need to do better. We have seen what the last 3 years have been. What we have seen is what we will continue to get as we look to start a new chapter in this district. And I know my board colleagues too, it's the only way you survive this role as a board member and probably as a community member is that we continue to hold on to hope. And it's a relentless hope, but if we persist down this current trajectory, that hope is fading. And that promise of a brighter future that we all know that we can have for students in this district is fading as well. Too much is at stake here. It's time for a new chapter, one where accountability and responsible stewardship guide every decision that we make.
Board Member Callahan.
Thank you. So, as both an educator and a board member, I don't just understand, but have had firsthand direct experience around the profound impacts that a reduction in force and a budget cut can have on a school community. Please know these decisions are not easy and they truly demand our careful consideration. The implications for staff, for students, I appreciate very deeply the advocacy that our community has engaged in to support the programs and the teachers they love. Thank you for your emails and for being here tonight. We recognize that maintaining a supportive and stable learning environment is paramount, even amidst these financial challenges. And as Board Member Eckert stated, I commit to continuing to seek innovative solutions, engaging in transparent communication with stakeholders, and advocating for resources that will prioritize the well-being of our students and our educators. And so while budget cuts and reduction in force may present formidable obstacles, they also underscore the need for creative problem solving and collaboration within our school community. By working together, my hope is that we can mitigate the impact of these challenges and ensure that our students continue to receive the high-quality education that they deserve. But this moment, we would be remiss to not remember similar situations in May and November where we were warned about the consequences of rash actions and the ripple effect that ensues when leaders are ousted, leading to devastating and destabilizing outcomes, as my board member colleague, Mr. Meyer, pointed out. So now a year later, we do find ourselves living in that aftermath of reckless decisions spearheaded by our former board president and colleagues, and we are in fact at this inflection point that you invoked in this aftermath. So taking steps to rectify this situation tonight is important and a positive beginning, but it's also essential not to celebrate just cleaning up the mess, but to recognize where it was created in the first place. Thank you.
I'll just say that as board members, we're always often told to look at things from a bird's eye point of view because you have to look at it from a 30,000-foot level. One person is usually not affected by our choices. Our choices always have a cascading effect. And one of the things that we have to think about as board members is how does this affect the people that are in other departments that you're not thinking about or other areas of the district. So I think one of the things I will caution us on is with our decisions, you're not focusing on one thing. It will always have a cascading effect that ripples out. So just think about that with all your decisions. All right, I think we can close discussion and then go to the vote.
Board Member Callahan?
No.
Board Member Duvall-Wilson?
No.
Board Member Eckert?
No.
Board Member Gifford?
No.
Board Member Meyer?
Yes.
Board Member Sackett-Gable?
No.
Board President Telsford?
Yes.
Board Member Vodlamani?
Yes.
Board Member Whitletter?
No.
Motion does not pass. Or I'm not sure what is it, a not pass? Is it a motion not pass?
Motion did not pass.
The motion did not pass.
All right, now we move on to new business. Anyone have any new business?
Thank you, Board President. I would like to move that a hand carry resolution be adopted to authorize a forensic audit of the South Orange Maplewood School District, covering all financial transactions and policies from the past 3 fiscal years, assessing the internal controls, compliance, and financial reporting accuracy. Can I get a second?
Anybody second?
I think I would, yeah.
Make a second.
I think, point of order, I think this is in violation of our policy related to new business.
Correct. So you have limitations on what can be brought up during the new business proportion. I'm just trying to find it, but it's matters of such urgency that they cannot be delayed and moved in the regular course. And so
We're about to cut 27 people.
That would still not change if you did a forensic audit.
the question would arise, though, if this goes through the regular course, through the committee process, and appears on next month's agenda, would that be a problem? That's what emergent matters are for in your other business portion.
All right, we can just have this discussion in FFT, so it wouldn't require a vote.
Can I read it into the record, or it's just one page?
There's nothing to read. You can just forward that to me, and then we can, or forward it to the chair of FFT, and then we can have that discussion at our next FFT meeting.
There is no way that a forensic audit would result in saving cuts by the next meeting. Because a forensic audit is
in public, please.
a undertaking of several months. So.
Board Member Eckert? No,
you would
we're just going to have this go to FFT.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask that the FFT committee discuss the possibility of this, what the implications are, what the timelines, what the costs are in your next meeting.
I just think that we should also take into account that we also did go through one of a blistering federal audit, and we did.
It's a very different audit.
Right, but
Yeah, it is.
All right.
So I will forward that to you in FFT.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Okay, the Board of Education will meet in public session on Thursday.
Second public speaks.
Oh, yes, we have second public speaks. It's not on here. Where is it?
There's a second public speak. He wants to speak again, apparently. Stanley said he wanted to speak again because we were both like, he already spoke. And he said he wanted to speak again. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Jeff Bennett?
Okay. I wasn't originally planning to speak at second public speaks, but I wanted to respond to something that another parent said in her public speaks about the cost of courtesy busing expansion for this year. For this year, we have 36 buses running our routes. Last year, we had 24 buses running our routes, according to the BOSE presentations made in October 2022. So we have 12 more buses. At an average of $120,000 a bus, that's $1.5 million. Guess what? That's the extra tax levy that we approved. So the courtesy busing expansion, which benefits 500 elementary schoolers who are going to non-neighborhood schools, and it could have been very stressful or impossible for their parents, costs less than the tax levy. It's not the cause of this budget crisis. If people from the public want to blame the budget crisis on something else, it's not courtesy busing. I know I did talk about pre-K busing because the costs of it are very, very high per student, but the elementary busing is not that expensive. Last year, our elementary school buses had 45% capacity met. So they were mostly empty. This year, our elementary buses have 65% of the seats taken. So actually, we accommodated a whole lot more of the K-5 buses on existing routes. It's fine. As for blaming this budget crisis for things that happened last May or last November, come on. You guys know that this budget crisis is multiple years in the making. It didn't just appear in winter 2024. All right, get real. Thank you. I hope you do approve the forensic audit as soon as you can.
All right. We'll move on to the Board of Education will meet in public session on Thursday, May 30th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the district meeting room at 525 Academy Street in Maplewood, New Jersey. Immediately following the opening of public session, the board will move to go into a closed session in the superintendent's office at 525 Academy Street in Maplewood, New Jersey, as well as using an online video conference platform to discuss personal matters with the attorney-client privilege, legal negotiations, and other matters that may arise and require discussion to be announced at a later date. Immediately following the closed session, the Board of Education will meet in public session, estimated to be 7:30 p.m. in the district meeting room at 525 Academy Street, Maplewood, New Jersey, in person, utilizing an online video conference platform, which will include hearing of individuals. The community can view the meeting by following the steps which will be listed on the agenda. If there are members of the community who would like to attend the meeting in person, please note that masks and social distancing are optional in accordance with the guidance received from the local DOH and CDC. Action will be taken. With that, I'd like to make a motion to close this meeting. Do I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Eckert. All in favor? All right. And we are closed here at 10:23 p.m.